Welcome to our channel. This video explores 40 unsolved mysteries of ancient Greece. You will learn about the ancient Greek organization whose activities shaped the concept of secrecy itself, the individual believed to be the world's first actor, having first portrayed another person in a performance, the subject of Aristotle's lost treatise, mentioned even in Umberto Eco's famous novel, The Name of the Rose, whether the legendary labyrinth, said to house the deadly Minotaur, actually existed, and if so, where it was located, what scholars refer to as the Socratic problem, and why we may never know the true intentions of the father of Western philosophy, the nature of the first combat robots, created using mechanical knowledge in 213 BC, why the most skilled modern carvers and glassblowers have been unable to replicate the Portland vase, the disparity between the poor and the wealthy, and their relationship, why ancient Greek aesthetics are still considered beautiful by many today, why Greece, despite its advantages, did not become a vast empire like Rome. Ancient Greece is rightfully considered the cradle of Western civilization. It established the earliest educational institutions for various ages. However, the greatest achievement of the Greeks, specifically the Athenians, is considered the invention of democracy, which centuries later became the foundation for governance in most civilized countries. The vast span of time between antiquity and the present has erased some memories and facts about that world, leaving behind numerous unsolved mysteries. Records of ancient historians are lost or destroyed, and facts become embellished with speculation and myths. This video delves into the most fascinating secrets of ancient Greece that remain undisclosed. Many countries boast rich histories filled with diverse mysteries, several of which we've covered on this channel. Today, we focus on the enduring enigmas of ancient Greece. We believe this video will provide you with intriguing and mysterious information, which we encourage you to discuss in the comments. 1. The secrets of the Eleusinian mysteries. One of ancient Greece's most captivating secrets concerns an organization synonymous with the word secret itself, the Eleusinian mysteries. This religious cult involved several ceremonies, the details of which remain shrouded in mystery. The term refers both to the organization and the rituals performed. The primary reason for the lack of information is that the mysteries were inherently classified as profound secrets, comparable to modern non-disclosure agreements, but with the ancient penalty for revelation being death, not fines or dismissal. Numerous self-proclaimed experts have only further obscured the truth. It seems the secrets of the Eleusinian mysteries may never be fully uncovered, leaving descendants with fragmented tales of the cult of Demeter and Persephone. The Greeks cherished their secret rituals, none perhaps more famous than the Eleusinian mysteries, rites observed for nearly 2,000 years in honor of Demeter, the goddess of agriculture. According to myth, Hades abducted Demeter's daughter, Persephone, leading Demeter's grief to cause worldwide drought and famine. Zeus eventually compelled Hades to return Persephone, but she had to spend part of each year in the underworld, during which time the earth grew cold and barren, thus creating the seasons. While searching for her daughter, Demeter, disguised as an old woman, served as a nursemaid in Eleusis. Revealing her true identity, the Eleusinians built her a temple where the mysteries were held to celebrate the mother-daughter reunion that brought fertility back to the land. This mythological aspect is better known than the actual rituals, as participants strictly adhered to their vows of secrecy. 2 mysteries were held annually, the lesser mysteries in spring and the greater mysteries in September. Initiates traditionally walked from Athens to Eleusis. While the procession was public, activities inside the temple, likely involving fasting, purification rites, sacrifices, and offerings, were strictly confidential. Some scholars speculate the rituals might have included human sacrifice, symbolizing Persephone's plight. The true extent of the Eleusinian mysteries remains hidden. 2. The life of Thespes. In 6th century BC Athens, Thespes was known as a playwright credited with being the first person to step out from the chorus and portray a character, making him arguably the world's first actor. He was also an author and innovator in drama. Thespes' significance was such that thespian became a term for actors. Despite his fame, his life and works are shrouded in mystery. Was his name really Thespes? Was he from Athens? Did he even exist? We possess none of his works today. Historians note that references to Thespes, including those by Horace, date much later than his supposed era. This has led some to believe Thespes might be a mythical figure, like Achilles or Patroclus, perhaps symbolizing the transition in Greek drama from purely choral performances to the use of individual actors. 3. Architecture and art of the Parthenon. The Parthenon is one of ancient Greece's most iconic architectural monuments. Its survival for 500 years is remarkable, considering the relatively short time taken for its construction, reportedly without detailed plans. Many mysteries and rumors surround its construction phases. The purpose of certain features, like the bas-relief frieze depicting numerous people and animals, remains debated. One theory suggests the figures represent the Parthenon's builders. The complex also includes 2 interior chambers. The purpose of the smaller room is unknown. 4. Authorship of 2 Athenian constitutions. The Athenian constitution refers to 2 different legal codes. The first, the *Athenaean Palladium*, was traditionally attributed to Xenophon, and the second to Aristotle. However, the authorship of both is disputed. While initially credited to Xenophon, later scholars argued he couldn't have written the first *Palladium*, as he would have been too young when it appeared. Textbooks now often list pseudo-Xenophon as the author, but the real writer remains unknown. Regarding the second document, many historians initially agreed on Aristotle's authorship. Later, stylistic differences between this constitution and Aristotle's other known works were noted. Supporters of Aristotelian authorship counter that his other works also vary stylistically, so the difference isn't conclusive. 5. The works of Pythagoras. We know Pythagoras through his famous theorem concerning right-angled triangles. The square of the hypotenuse equals the sum of the squares of the other 2 sides. This theorem is perhaps his most widely recognized contribution. Yet, even the precise field of mathematics holds mysteries surrounding the life and works of one of its most famous figures. Pythagoras's mystique stems partly from his philosophical school, which operated in secrecy. The authorship of many works produced within the school was kept confidential, making it unclear which contributions belong specifically to Pythagoras and which to his colleagues. Furthermore, it's claimed that the Pythagorean theorem itself was discovered earlier by Babylonian mathematicians. 6. Aristotle's lost treatise on comedy. Aristotle's *Poetics*, a treatise on the theory of drama, is well known. However, only the first part, focusing on tragedy, survives. The second part is lost. It is believed this second part was dedicated entirely to the theory of comedy, complementing the first. Skeptics doubt its existence due to insufficient evidence, while proponents point to the Tractatus Coeslinianus*, which contains indirect references possibly pointing to Aristotle's work. The mystery of the lost comedy section has fueled speculation, even featuring in Umberto Eco's novel *The Name of the Rose*, where the discovery of the manuscript plays a role in the plot. 7. Was the labyrinth real? The Greek myth of the labyrinth and the Minotaur is famous. King Minos of Crete commissioned Daedalus to build a complex maze, the labyrinth, to contain the Minotaur, a half-man, half-bull monster. Every 9 years, Athens sent 7 youths and 7 maidens to be devoured by the creature. This continued until the hero Theseus entered the labyrinth, killed the Minotaur, and escaped. While the Minotaur itself was likely mythical, the labyrinth might have been real. Although no definitive proof exists, interest resurfaces periodically, with speculation that the legend was inspired by a real structure, possibly near Knossos. Ancient Roman and Ptolemaic Egyptian writers believed the labyrinth was real. Centuries later, Byzantine historian Nikephoros Gregoras described it as a vast artificial cave system near Gortyn, not Knossos. In the late 19th century, Sir Arthur Evans's excavations on Crete uncovered the Minoan civilization. Initially skeptical, Evans concluded the labyrinth was real, placing it near Knossos. More recently, archaeologists found underground tunnels in an old quarry near Gortyn, reigniting the debate. 8. Why was the Atlantis trilogy unfinished? Most people have heard of Atlantis, the mythical island swallowed by the ocean. The source of this story was the Athenian philosopher Plato. According to him, millennia ago, Atlantis was a vast, wealthy, and powerful island with an unmatched navy. It conquered its neighbors, North Africa, and reached Italy. However, the Atlantean armada was defeated by Athens alone, which then liberated the conquered territories. After this defeat, Atlantis lost favor with the gods and suffered a massive earthquake followed by floods, sinking the entire island. While the story is considered fictional, the mystery lies in why Plato never finished his planned trilogy about Atlantis. He wrote the first book, Timaeus around 360 BC and had over a decade to complete the series. He then wrote the second book, Critias which ends abruptly mid-sentence. The reason remains unknown. 9. Was Homer real? Homer is considered the founder of ancient Greek literature, primarily for the epic poems the Iliad and the Odyssey *. However, debate continues over whether Homer actually existed. This is known as the Homeric question. He supposedly lived much earlier than commonly thought, around the 8th century BC, centuries before Greece's cultural peak, and almost nothing is known about his life. Even in classical times, Homer was viewed as an ancient figure. The Homeric question has two parts. Was Homer a real person? Did he actually write the epics attributed to him? He would have lived when Greek writing was nascent, and stories were mainly transmitted orally. He might have been a bard retelling existing tales. Many scholars believe the Iliad and the Odyssey are centuries, perhaps even a millennium, older than traditionally thought. Others see Homer not as a real person, but as a composite of writers or a symbolic name given to beloved literary works whose true authors were unknown. 10. Did Euxithius kill Herodes? Classical Greece produced 10 renowned public speakers known as the 10 Attic orators. The earliest was Antiphon of Rhamnus, a 5th century BC statesman who applied his rhetorical skills in court, providing some of the earliest recorded examples of legal cases before a democratic jury. One speech, on the murder of Herodes, reveals an ancient Greek murder mystery. Two men, Euxithius and Herodes, sailed together from Mytilene to Enos. A storm forced them ashore where they took shelter. While drinking, Herodes disappeared. After 2 days of searching, he couldn't be found. Euxithius continued his journey once the weather cleared, but was accused of murder by Herodes' relatives upon returning to Mytilene and taken to Athens for trial. Unfortunately, Antiphon's speech doesn't include the verdict, leaving Herodes' disappearance and Euxithius's guilt or innocence unresolved. 11. What happened to the Athena Parthenos? For centuries, the statue of Athena Parthenos was one of Athens's most prized monuments, residing in the Parthenon. It was a chryselephantine sculpture, wood covered in gold and ivory, nearly 40 feet tall, attributed to the sculptor Phidias, who worked on it for almost a decade before its dedication around 438 BC. Its fate is unknown. About 150 years after its creation, the Athenian tyrant Laches removed some gold plating to pay his soldiers. Around 165 BC, the statue was damaged in a fire but restored. After this, details become scarce. It might have been destroyed during one of the city's sackings by Germanic or Slavic tribes. Alternatively, as Athena worship declined, the Athenians themselves might have dismantled it for its valuable materials. A later account mentions its existence in Constantinople in the 10th century AD. If true, it might have survived until the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople in the 15th century. 12. What happened to the statue of Zeus? Regarding Greek sculptures, the statue of Zeus at Olympia surpassed most, being one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Also 40 feet tall, it depicted Zeus enthroned, holding a scepter and a statue of Nike, crowned with an olive wreath. Like the Athena Parthenos, it was a chryselephantine statue crafted by Phidias, adorned with ebony and gold leaf. Its ultimate fate is also a mystery. Roman historian Suetonius wrote that Emperor Caligula intended to move the statue to Rome, replace Zeus's head with his own, but was assassinated before he could. It's unknown if the statue was moved. If it survived Caligula's plan, It might have been destroyed during the reigns of Christian emperors Theodosius I or Roman II, who ordered the closure or destruction of pagan temples. Many believe one of them had the statue moved to Constantinople and burned. If it somehow survived longer, it likely perished in the 6th century when earthquakes destroyed the temple at Olympia. 13. What is the Socratic problem? Socrates is widely regarded as the father of Western philosophy. However, he never wrote anything down. His teachings survive only through the writings of his students, particularly Plato, Xenophon, and Aristophanes. Because he is known only indirectly, distinguishing the historical Socrates from the literary character presented by his followers is difficult. Descriptions of him are often inconsistent or contradictory. This difficulty is known as the Socratic problem. Each source offers an interpretation rather than an exact portrayal. Regarding the real Socrates, perhaps the only certainty is our uncertainty. 14. What did the Delphic epsilon mean? In antiquity, Delphi was a sacred site attracting visitors worldwide seeking prophecies from the Pythia, the Delphic oracle, within the Temple of Apollo. Approaching the temple, visitors saw an unexpected symbol on the pediment, the Greek letter epsilon e. Its meaning has puzzled historians and philosophers since ancient times. Plutarch wrote a treatise on the E at Delphi, offering possible explanations but remaining uncertain. He documented the symbol's history. The earliest, made of wood in the 6th century BC, burned down and was replaced by a bronze one, later replaced by a gold one still present in Plutarch's time, nearly 700 years later. Its constant replacement, updates, and prominent placement suggest significant importance, but the meaning is lost. Today, conspiracy theorists link it to aliens and secret societies, but truthfully, much about the oracle was kept secret, and the Delphic epsilon seems destined to remain an enigma. 15. Did the wife attempt to murder her husband? Returning to Antiphon's speeches, another ancient Greek murder mystery involves suspected poisoning. The victim and alleged killer, husband and wife, remain unnamed. The man was dining with his friend Philoneus when both fell ill and died days apart. Before dying, the husband told his son from a previous marriage he'd been poisoned and instructed him to punish the killer. The son brought charges against his stepmother years later, suggesting he was young at the time. According to the prosecution, the wife didn't administer the poison herself but tricked Philoneus's mistress into doing it, making her believe it was a love potion. Being a slave, the mistress was tortured until she confessed and then executed. As for the accused wife, the speech again lacks a verdict, leaving her fate unknown. 16. Amazing architecture. Surviving ancient Greek temples and palaces such as the Temple of Olympian Zeus in Athens, the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, the Parthenon, the Library of Celsus in Ephesus, and the Palace of Knossos on Crete, are incredible structures. Their construction raises questions about ancient techniques. How were massive, smooth blocks quarried, transported, and lifted? How were intricate details carved? Many ancient palaces show remnants of plumbing and sewage systems built thousands of years ago. 17. Hephaestus's golden maidens. Homer's Iliad describes mysterious golden maidens crafted by Hephaestus, the god of fire, resembling robots with artificial intelligence. Golden attendants hastened to help their master. They looked like real women with intelligence in their hearts and voice and strength, and were taught crafts by the immortal gods. The poet Pindar also wrote of similar moving, non-living figures created by the magicians known as telchines. It's worth noting that translations of Homer and Pindar from past centuries might have simplified or omitted terms enyepe or enyate, enyeruye, unclear to translators at the time. Legends also tell of Hephaestus creating Talos, a giant bronze man, for King Minos of Crete to guard his domain. 18. The claw of Archimedes. Ancient robots, known as automata, existed beyond myth. The Greeks possessed sufficient mechanical knowledge to build them using systems of ropes and pulleys, sometimes activated by heat from a sacred fire expanding air within a complex internal mechanism. In 213 BC, Archimedes designed a true manipulator robot, a precursor to modern industrial robots. Called the claw, It was designed to defend Syracuse against Roman invaders by lifting enemy ships out of the water and capsizing them. 19. Apollo's tripod. Greek mythology states the god Apollo originated from the northern land of Hyperborea. Ancient myths mention a tripod he used to fly to his homeland, and images of this tripod appear on ancient Greek vases. Intriguingly, a similar tripod is mentioned by the Chinese poet Cao Zhi in praise of Emperor Huangdi's 3 tripods, describing a metal cauldron on 3 legs, depicting a dragon flying in clouds, capable of resting or moving and becoming light or heavy. 20. The Portland Vase. Housed in the British Museum, the Portland Vase is a mysterious glass vessel from antiquity, likely made in the late 1st century BC. This decorative vase is crafted from 2 layers of glass, dark blue overlaid with white, featuring carved figures of Greek gods and mortals. Despite numerous attempts by skilled modern carvers and glassblowers, replicating the vase has proven impossible. The techniques used in its creation remain unknown. 21. The Antikythera mechanism. Discovered in the early 20th century in an ancient shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera. The Antikythera mechanism contained at least 30 bronze gears within a rectangular case with dials and pointers, covered by protective bronze plates. Many researchers consider it an ancient analog computer, possibly used for astronomical calculations. 22. The Phaistos disc. Found in the early 20th century, this artifact remains one of the greatest mysteries of the past. Housed in the Heraklion Archaeological Museum on Crete, the terracotta disc, about 15 cm diameter, 2 cm thick, features spirals of stamped symbols on both sides, divided into fields by lines. Each field contains 2 to 7 distinct symbols, totaling 259 mysterious signs. The symbols were impressed using stamps, not drawn by hand, making it potentially the world's oldest example of printing with movable type. The technology used to create the intricate stamps from a hard, unknown material remains a puzzle. 23. Minoan golden bees. Also in the Heraklion Museum is a famous Minoan artifact, a miniature gold pendant depicting 2 bees carrying a drop of honey. Found in the early 20th century at the Palace of Malia, destroyed by the Santorini volcanic eruption. It's dated to around 1700 BC, though it could be older. Despite study, the advanced goldsmithing techniques used to create such a perfect piece in that era remain unknown. 24. Absence of the moon. Surprisingly, some ancient Greek authors claim the moon did not always exist. The philosopher Anaxagoras, 5th century BC, mentioned lost treatises stating the moon appeared after the Earth's formation. Apollonius of Rhodes, 3rd century BC, cited Aristotle, who wrote about ancient Arcadians who ate acorns, in a time when the moon did not yet exist in the heavens. The historian Plutarch, 1st-2nd century AD, mentioned an Arcadian ruler named Proslenus, meaning before the moon. 25. The Lycurgus cup. The British Museum holds a rare ancient glass vessel known as the Lycurgus cup. It depicts the death of the Thracian king Lycurgus, entangled by vines for offending Dionysus. Its unique feature is its ability to change color depending on the light and the liquid it contains, appearing green in reflected light, red when light passes through. Scientists discovered the glass contains nanoparticles of silver and gold, around 50 nanometers. How ancient artisans achieved this nanotechnology remains unexplained by historians and physicists. 26. Were ancient Greeks highly educated? Like any society, ancient Greece had various social strata. While literacy was widespread, deep education was largely confined to a small circle of thinkers and wealthy citizens, primarily aristocrats. Most citizens, including farmers, soldiers, and artisans, were not highly educated and focused on daily concerns. 27. Widespread literacy and education. What distinguished the Greeks was near-universal literacy among citizens. It was almost impossible to function in Greek society without basic reading and writing skills. Citizens hired tutors or taught their children at home. Children learned literacy and were introduced to poetry. Deeper education required time and money. The perception of widespread intellectualism stems from the fact that European education, since Roman times, was based on Greek and Roman texts, often featuring philosophers and public figures, creating an impression of constant intellectual discourse. In reality, such conversations were limited to intellectuals, while everyday talk among ordinary citizens was less lofty. 28. Did Greeks resemble their statues? Greek statues vary greatly. Some depict gods or ideal athletes, classical period. Others show orators and philosophers, Hellenistic period. And still others portray ordinary people like old fishermen or drunken old women. Faces were typically symmetrical, and bodies anatomically idealized, considering age but often omitting flaws. Diversity came from individual facial features, while maintaining symmetry and differing artistic canons. For example, the 5th century BC sculptor Polyclitus depicted youths with subtle anatomy, while his contemporary Myron showed more developed musculature. Physical anthropology suggests modern Greeks are not drastically different from their ancestors. While faces in statues might be slightly idealized, the depicted bodies were often more perfect than reality. Statues aimed for the ideal human form. Real life varied. Exceptionally beautiful individuals existed, but so did ordinary people, especially in poorer districts. 29. Why are statues nude? Was there no shame? Not all Greek statues are nude, although many are. This doesn't mean Greeks lacked shame. The reasons for the prevalence of nudity in art are complex. In early times, men worked fields naked, recorded by Hesiod, 8th century BC. Around the same time, runners began competing nude, followed by other athletes. Legend says a runner's loincloth fell off during the 720 BC Olympics, or that a Spartan intentionally started nude. Nudity was acceptable for men only in specific contexts, among peers during sports, certain religious rites, etc. One hypothesis links this to democratic ideals, equal citizens hiding nothing from each other. Statues emphasize the citizen's social role, hence the nude portrayal. Respectable women, including goddesses, were generally not depicted nude initially. A citizen woman appearing nude in public was unthinkable. Nude figures in art were often hetairai, courtesans, dancers, or flute girls entertaining men. In the 4th century BC, Praxiteles sculpted a nude Aphrodite, reportedly using his mistress, the hetaira Phryne, as a model, which initially shocked but eventually popularized nude depictions of the goddess. 30. Did Greeks wear underwear? No, Greeks did not wear underwear similar to modern types. Loincloths were sometimes used as undergarments by slaves, artisans, or peasants during work, or for warmth or protection, but not always worn under clothing. True briefs resembling bikinis or thongs appeared in Roman times, likely used only by women serving at banquets and possibly during sports. 31. Did they really dilute wine with water? Yes, often significantly. A common ratio was 1 part wine to 2 parts water, sometimes up to 10 parts water. Since Greeks didn't fortify wine, add alcohol, it rarely exceeded 15% ABV. Diluted wine was often weaker than modern beer. Explanations vary. Greek writers stated dilution distinguished Greeks from barbarians. Perhaps it prevented excessive drunkenness, though vase paintings depict intoxicated individuals. Another theory suggests water quality was poor, and wine helped disinfect it, but dilution reduced alcohol's antiseptic properties. Most likely, Greek wine production differed significantly. Grapes were often partially dried to increase sugar content, resulting in a very sweet, thick drink. Seawater, crushed stone, and other ingredients were added to prevent spoilage, but made the wine cloudy. Strainers were common at feasts. Undiluted wine was consumed occasionally, perhaps in cold weather as medicine at the start of a feast or simply by preference. Barbarians supposedly drank wine undiluted to get drunk quickly, a behavior Greeks considered undignified. 32. What did they eat besides olives? Olives and olive oil were staples, but the Greek diet included more, though less varied than modern cuisine. Grains, wheat, barley were crucial. Wheat was used for bread. Various grains, millet, spelt, were made into porridge. Buckwheat was unknown. Legumes, peas, lentils, vetch, now often cattle feed, were important, eaten raw or in thick stews. Large beans were introduced later from the Americas. They also ate onions, peppers, likely different varieties, cucumbers, then very bitter, and other vegetables. Meat wasn't a daily food. Sheep and goats were common, often sacrificed and eaten at feasts. Beef was rare, mostly for the wealthy. Pork was less popular. Chicken and eggs were common. They hunted boar, deer, and various birds, including small ones. Game was scarce near cities. Milk, sheep, goat, cow was used for cheese, a common food. Fish, initially disdained by Homeric aristocracy, became popular. Tuna and sturgeon from Black Sea river mouths were prized. Fish was salted and dried. Crabs, lobsters, octopuses, cuttlefish, and mollusks, oysters, mussels were consumed in large quantities. Fruits included apples, pears, figs, and grapes. Desserts featured dried figs, raisins, and honey, also used in salads and bread. They drank water, milk, often goats, and wine. Beer was known but not very popular. 33. Did they believe Zeus caused thunder? Beliefs varied. For many, myths explained the world. Zeus hurled lightning bolts, Poseidon controlled waves. However, with the rise of philosophy and science by the 6th century BC, educated Greeks questioned this. The world of the gods seemed illogical, and the concept of Hades, where souls became memoryless shades, felt bleak. Some philosophies emphasized natural elements, others omitted gods entirely. Still, intellectual speculation was confined to the educated elite. Ordinary people largely continued believing in powerful gods, heroes, and monsters, often adhering to religious traditions more out of custom than deep faith. 34. Rich vs. poor, disparity and relations. The exact ratio of rich to poor varied greatly by city and era. In 5th century BC Athens, Pop. 300 000, about 40,000 were free male citizens, 10-15%. Including families, citizens numbered 150 000. Slaves numbered 100 000, and the rest were free non-citizens, metics. Slaves owned no property. Solon's 6th century BC reforms divided Athenian citizens into 4 wealth classes based on annual income, measured in medimnoi units of grain/wine/oil. Pentacosium dimni 500 plus medimnoi. Richest owned large estates, possibly ships, funded warships. Hippes 300-500 medimnoi. Horsemen, income sufficient to maintain a horse, expensive in land. Poor Greece, served in cavalry. Zeugites 200-300 medimnoi. Middle class owned enough land for a decent household, formed the core of the polis, served as hoplites, heavy infantry, affording their own armor. Thetes under 200 medimnoi. Poorest, barely made ends meet. Exempt from most civic duties, served as light infantry or rowers, free men, not slaves, rowed Greek galleys. Initially, Thetes were relatively few, but urban poverty grew. The richest were at least 5 times wealthier than the poorest, and about twice as wealthy as the middle class Zeugites The wealth gap was smaller than in many modern societies. Poor citizens and non-citizens resented the rich, but legal recourse and participation in assembly/government for citizens mitigated open conflict. Payments for assembly/jury duty and funds for theater attendance helped prevent social unrest. Slaves' conditions varied. Small revolts occurred occasionally. Work in the Laurian silver mines was notoriously harsh. State-owned slaves, police, scribes, etc. had better conditions than private ones. In Athens, where slaves were treated relatively well, sometimes criticized as being too bold, major revolts didn't happen. 35. Were Greeks warlike like Vikings? Greeks were excellent warriors and fought often, but differently from Vikings. Vikings were essentially professional pirates and mercenaries seeking plunder. Greeks fought primarily as citizen soldiers defending their polis or interests. Ideally, every male citizen armed himself and joined the militia when needed. This militia, though not professional soldiers, had high morale bolstered by constant athletic training, making them strong and skilled. Greek tactics, especially the phalanx, a tight formation of hoplites with shields and spears/swords, required discipline, courage, and coordination honed through training. Constant, usually short-lived, interpolies wars provided experience but typically resulted in limited casualties. If one phalanx broke, the losers fled, often discarding heavy shields. Victors couldn't pursue easily while carrying theirs. Truces were common for burying the dead. Greek farmers disliked unnecessary war but were always prepared. This readiness proved crucial against formidable enemies like the Persians. 36. Did they invent the Olympic Games? Yes, undoubtedly. Greeks held athletic competitions honoring gods, believing gods enjoyed witnessing the contest. Major games were held periodically at large sanctuaries. Examples include the Panathenaic Games Athens, Isthmian Games Corinth, and Pythian Games Delphi. The largest and most prestigious were the Olympic Games, held every 4 years at Zeus's sanctuary in Olympia, Peloponnese, starting traditionally in 776 BC, possibly legendary. A sacred truce allowed athletes safe travel. Initially just a foot race, the games gradually added more sports. Victory brought great honor to the athlete Olympionics and their city. The ancient games continued until the late 4th century AD when banned as pagan festivals. Modern Olympic Games were revived in 1896. 37. Why is ancient Greek art still considered beautiful? Perceptions of beauty are partly biological, e.g., preference for the golden ratio, and partly cultural. Ancient Greek artists and architects had a strong aesthetic sense, often intuitively finding pleasing proportions. They emphasized accurate human anatomy combined with strict symmetry, aligning with beauty standards in many cultures. Crucially, Greco-Roman art formed the foundation of subsequent European art. After medieval changes, the Renaissance revisited antiquity, adopting ancient styles and subjects. Classical education, including Greek/Latin languages and art, became standard from the 18th century, establishing Greek art as the ideal. Despite modern art's evolution, these classical foundations remain influential, making ancient art seem inherently beautiful to many within this cultural tradition. 38. Why didn't Greece become a great empire like Rome? The structure of Greek society, based on independent city-states, polis, hindered large-scale empire formation. Colonies typically became independent states maintaining friendly but autonomous relations with their mother cities. Alliances formed for specific purposes like war, but often dissolved. If one city grew too powerful, rivals formed coalitions against it. While states like Athens and Sparta controlled significant territories, it was mainly through alliances. Rome, by contrast, was essentially the rule of one city over vast conquered territories. A large Greek-led empire emerged only under the Macedonians, related but considered semi-barbarian by some Greeks. Philip Roman II united Greece, and his son Alexander the Great conquered the Persian Empire. Although Macedonian-led, Greeks played a huge role, and Greek language/culture became dominant. Hellenistic period. Alexander's empire fragmented after his death, but large Hellenistic kingdoms, Ptolemaic Egypt, Seleucid Empire, Pergamum arose, eventually conquered by Rome. 39. Did Greek civilization disappear? No, Greek civilization didn't vanish like the Maya or mythical Atlantis. The Romans respected Greek culture, adopted aspects of it, and allowed local self-government, enabling traditions to continue. Greek culture evolved within the Roman Empire. After the empire split, the Eastern Roman, Byzantine Empire, centered on Greek population speaking medieval Greek, became the inheritor. Although Christian Orthodox, Byzantine culture was built on Greek and Roman foundations. Greeks maintained cultural identity under Ottoman rule and revived their statehood in the 19th century. Modern Greece is the direct cultural successor to ancient Greece through continuous historical development. 40. Women and the Olympic Games. Women were forbidden from attending the ancient Olympic Games, even as spectators under penalty of death. Only one known exception occurred. A mother disguised herself to watch her son compete. When discovered, she was spared execution only because her son won. Ancient athletes were awarded olive wreaths, branches, and olive oil in amphorae. 41. Athenian citizenship. Every Athenian citizen was obligated to participate in public life, attending assemblies, holding elected office, voting. Failure to do so could lead to problems, including ostracism, exile. Acquiring Athenian citizenship if born elsewhere was nearly impossible. Even Pericles' son with Aspasia, a non-Athenian from Miletus, gained citizenship only with great difficulty, largely in recognition of his father's merits. Bonus fact: wealthy Greek women often led idle lives, their main pastime being examining jewelry. Women who rejected this societal expectation were sometimes known as heterae. Another curious detail: Greeks reportedly used pebbles or pieces of broken pottery as toilet paper. These were 40 mysteries and facts about ancient Greece. We hope you enjoyed this collection. Please leave comments, like the video, share your thoughts, and suggest topics for future videos. Your feedback helps us create more engaging content. Description. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, click the notification bell, and select all notifications. You'll likely enjoy our future content.